has a story. Stories have power. They help us understand. Jessop's Journal is a collection of powerful, positive, and inspirational stories. It's time for Jessop's Journal.
I'm Doug Jessop. Welcome to Jessop's Journal. In this episode, I visit with a woman that has a powerful story of overcoming adversity, dancer Ashleigh Di Lello. The positive power of music is universal. One of today's guests uses that special power at a school for the blind. And yes, she does sing for us, Elena, Bowlus, Cruz. Later in the show, we visit with a little boy that has a song in his heart, little Gerold, and the power of music therapy. I got to meet him at the music therapy room. I'm Doug. How you doing? But first, Ashleigh Di Lello. Ashleigh, it's time to sign into Jessop's Journal.
All right. Honored.
Some people may recognize you because you are what we affectionately call a reality star.
Yes, there's many of those today, it seems, right? Yes, for dancing. My husband and I are most well known for being the only married couple as well to be on So You Think You Can Dance.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, and only married couple ever because we made it separately because they choose 10 boys and 10 girls.
Okay.
So we initially auditioned together, then the rest of the audition process was separate.
Okay.
So it was really amazing to both make one of those 10 spots.
Mm-hmm.
And we went through the whole season with separate partners.
Oh, I didn't know that. Really?
Yeah, and which was amazing to be able to like watch and support each other, but also double the stress.
Yeah, I bet.
But it was really incredible because we both made it to the finale.
Okay.
And everybody left gets to dance with the other. So all 3 girls danced with all 3 boys. So we finally got to dance with each other in the finale, which was just really special.
Okay, and maybe this is an obvious question, but you go, okay, so you've got this, but you're married, okay?
Yeah.
You know, you've got that yin and yang, you got that, that chemistry. Was there a difference between dancing, and I don't want to get you in trouble, but was there a difference between dancing with your husband versus the other guys?
Well, I mean, one thing we pride ourselves on, right, as professionals is being able to create that, right?
That illusion.
Yeah, it's acting, right? Mm-hmm. That's dancing is telling a story through movement and performance. But of course, for us, that connection in our dancing is very unique to us because we've been together a long time. But I was blessed with an amazing partner who they like to talk a lot about how I had even greater chemistry with, but pretty sure that was part of the reality TV.
Yeah. What other shows have you been on then?
So we've also performed on Dancing with the Stars and Ellen, and then we went on to Broadway and headlined Broadway shows.
Really?
Yeah.
So what were the names of the shows in Broadway?
So it was called Burn the Floor, and it was all ballroom Latin dancers with live singer and percussionist, and it also went to the West End in London.
Your dancing is kind of, that creme de la creme that you've worked through your years. Walk me through the journey that you had when you were a teenager.
Yes. I'm grateful for dance, having said that, because it was such a gift to have something I loved so much to push me through these enormous challenges. So I grew up dancing 5 hours a day and literally went from that to overnight fighting for my life. And woke up one morning and had pain in every joint and muscle and could hardly move and high temperature and all the feelings of sickness, but at a whole new level than I had ever experienced. I was called the Energizer Bunny. All I did was love life and dance, and now that was the start of a 4.5-year journey. I went to all the top specialists you can think of, every hospital, every scan and test that existed at the time, I did. And I was a mystery. I had a rare viral infection. They couldn't diagnose. They could see my organs shutting down. They could see how sick I was. I lost a lot of my hair. I was down to like 90 pounds.
Oh my.
Skin yellow from my liver shutting down. So much pain. I got to where I could hardly lift a finger because it took too much energy, and literally was sent home to die. was told they didn't know what to do. I'd make medical history books. And I'll never forget, particularly a moment that came to define my life, as I had the doctor come in. And I'll never forget, because it was one of those really stark rooms where there was just no color, nothing warm. And he rolled up one of those, chairs they all have, looked at me, took a deep breath and said, "You need to accept you're not going to live past your teenage years. You'll never dance again, never have kids, never live a normal life." And it's just crazy, because he went down this long list of what I would never do. And I was 13 years old.
Oh, wow.
My life had changed overnight, and I can't even describe what that moment felt like. I've never felt so overwhelmed and defeated, and just how could this have happened to my life? And I looked down and mustered the greatest courage I've had at that time, and looked up and said, "I don't accept this."
Wow.
And it was such a defining moment that I've drawn from, because I decided right then that I would not allow other people's limitations, to become mine. And I knew I was coming into the greatest fight of my life, but I decided that rather than to try to not die, I was going to put all my energy and efforts into living and defy the odds. If there was a chance, I sure was going to fight for them. And it was a long journey. I was out of dance for 6 years.
Wow.
And it was a long road from being able to get out of my bed and go to the bathroom, to being able to walk one house, to around the block, to rebuilding my strength. And it was the start of me really understanding our incredible mind-body connection, and how amazing our bodies are, and our human spirits. And that truly, when they're aligned, there's nothing that we can't overcome. And I was a witness of that. And that's why even being on So You Think You Can Dance was so miraculous, extra for me and my family, because it was so rigorous on the body. And I, at one time in my life, literally didn't have the strength to speak.
How old were you when you were on dancing?
I was 26 years old. Already had graduated college, already had a competitive career, but I was out of dance from 14 to almost 20.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. And then from there, 6 years later, you were on national television doing what you love.
Yes. After, missing what is supposed to be the most pivotal time in any athletic or performer's time, right? From your teenage years into your 20s. So the amazing thing is that something I didn't understand then that is well discussed now, and what I do now with neuroscience and the brain, is we understand that anything you picture with such clarity and detail, your brain doesn't know the difference between something that's actually happened and one you're imagining. And of course I didn't understand that then, but during all my tests and exams during all those years, rather than just lay there in the tubes and the MRIs, and I would dance in my mind. And I would go through my routines, and I would go through like I was with class, and I would feel it so much in my heart. I remember laying there in tears, not from despair, but joy of what I one day planned to experience again. And I have no doubt that that was so pivotal in me being able to come back the way I did, because for those 6 years, I was patterning within my brain and body the feeling of dance without physically being able to do it.
Strange question, Ashleigh.
Yeah.
But what dance were you doing in your mind?
I had a whole long list.
Yeah.
So at that time, when I got sick, I did all styles of dance: ballet, jazz, tap, hip hop, contemporary, ballroom. And so I would go through all the list. And so thankfully I had a long repertoire to move through. And then sometimes it was just creating, like I would have had I actually been physically moving to music. But I know that helped me come back in a way that, again, they say if you miss all that pivotal time in your teenage years, it's hard to compete with those who had those 6 years and were dancing 5 hours a day. So that was a miracle, I guess, in itself. But passion and hard work definitely go a long way.
So, Ashleigh Di Lello, how do you want to leave your mark?
I want people to know that regardless of what they've gone through in their life, regardless of their past traumas or experiences or the limitations that they've been told they have or that they feel they have, that no matter their talents or background or intelligence, that the functions of how our mind work are the same, and that they have that power to truly change their life and set them free, and that when the mind and the body are aligned for healing, there's no limits to what the human soul or body can overcome.
I would agree. Well said. Well, Ashleigh, thanks so much for coming on to JESSOPS Journal. One of my favorite inspirational quotes is from Audrey Hepburn. She said, "To plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow." Everyone has a story. Sometimes those stories are told through music. It's time for Jessop's Jukebox. It all started with a picture of a woman wearing a mask for COVID-19. Elena Bowlus Cruz can sing. I mean, we're talking Italian opera sing, folks. This woman is the person that sang the Madame Patarini commercial. Babbino, Caro by Puccini translates to, "Oh, my dear Papa," as a woman begs her father to help her marry the love of her life. Ladies and gentlemen, Elena Bowlus Cruz.
Oh, mio Babbino caro, mi piace bello.
Yeah, I'm the guy that wears hats on TV. This hat, it's a blue derby based on this pin. That pin was brought to America by one of my ancestors in 1869. It's called the 1869 Holm. Everyone learns differently. Elena Bowlus Cruz teaches children dealing with visual impairment as well as autism. In this entry of Jessop's journal, I have Elena Bowlus Cruz with me. I actually was introduced to you by a friend that we both have by the name of Steve Conlon.
Yeah.
He was working on some little picture project. You want to tell me about that?
Yeah, so a couple of weeks ago, he reached out to me asking if I would be interested in participating in a photo shoot it's called Capturing COVID. And at first I wasn't so sure. I get a little nervous about these things sometimes, but then the more I read about it, I was like, wow, this is amazing. They're doing different profiles on a lot of different types of people, how the pandemic has affected them, and what might have been the hardest part, what good may have come out of it, and yeah, it's pretty fascinating.
Now, you shared a story on that was interesting. So we're here in Utah. Are you from Utah?
I'm originally from Wyoming.
Okay.
First 19 years of my life was in Wyoming, but then I lived for 10 years in Utah, and then about a year in Los Angeles, and then I have 2 years now of being in New England in the Boston area.
So you go up to Boston, and there was one thing I noticed, though, that you had a very, very special job.
Yes.
That definitely got impacted by COVID, but a lot of things did. But tell me about this, where you were working.
I stumbled upon this opportunity. The Perkins School for the Blind was hiring teacher's assistants, and they didn't require a degree. And it's in the Boston area. You can live staff housing at the school, which is amazing because I can't afford Boston housing.
You got Boston housing. I'm not sure anybody can.
Yeah, and it really just felt like the heavens opened up because one of my best friends here in Utah actually has a son that's blind and autistic, and just a lot of little things, people that have touched my life where I was like, wow, I need to do this.
Well, the thing that people may not realize, and so, you kind of glossed over it a little bit. In our business, you call it bearing the lead. So the Perkins School is not just a little school for the visually impaired. It is
school.
It is the school. And tell me a little bit more, so let people know why it's so special.
It was the first blind school in America. So that's where Annie Sullivan, Helen Keller's teacher, attended. Laura Bridgman is a very famous blind and deaf person as well. It's been around almost 200 years.
Wow.
And it's more than a school, really. It's helps prepare children to become adults in the world,
right.
And we're really facilitating their independence and doing what we can so that they can eventually navigate the world on their own and be as independent as possible.
Right. Well, I do know some people that have autism, and I know that they're very much into rhythm, into routines. COVID has definitely screwed up a lot of people's routines. So how does COVID impact the students that you were dealing with?
I feel like it probably impacts them way more than most people. When you're visually impaired, you tend to navigate your world by touch. And right now it's very dangerous to touch things. We can't even, when I came here, we couldn't even shake hands, for example. So that is a huge issue. A lot of my students are autistic, like you mentioned. Schedule's important. So their schedules are turned upside down. And then even though we're doing remote learning we have classrooms through Google Classroom, and virtual learning has been a huge blessing. But when you're visually impaired,
yeah, how do you do a Zoom call if you're blind? I don't get that. I mean no disrespect. I'm just trying to figure it out.
It's difficult, and not all of them are completely blind. Some of them can see. All of them are visually impaired.
Right.
But some of them can see me on the Zoom call. But for those who can't, they just have to use their sense of hearing. We also work really closely with the parents or guardians of whoever they're with. And so it's very helpful when they're involved and they kind of know ahead of time, like what's going to be worked on.
Right.
Like, for example, math, we need to count some coins. Do you think you can have some coins available for us to use? Things like that.
Yeah, okay. Well, now, so you've talked about the senses of sight.
Yeah.
But there's an interesting sense that that you have, sense of song, of hearing, of sound. So I understand that music is just ever so slightly a part of your life. Explain that to me.
It's a huge part of my life. I've been deeply moved by music for as long as I can remember. I think the first time I realized that I could sing, I was maybe like 6 years old. I was just singing a silly song, and one of my mom's friends overheard and turned to my mom and was like, "Wow, your daughter can really sing." And I remember thinking, "Really?"
Yes.
What? But I was really shy when I was younger, and I still couldn't stay away from music. I definitely did. I did 2 musicals in high school. I was in a jazz a cappella group at my senior year of high school, and best times of my life. But I didn't really go out for solos and stuff like that. I was just...
Do you remember what the name of the musical was in high school?
Yes, my sophomore year it was Les Miserables.
Oh, well, let's go for it, huh?
Yeah, and then senior year was Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, okay, Beauty and the Beast. Now, if I remember right, Beauty and the Beast is made by those little guys named, was it Disney?
Yeah.
So I understand you have an interesting Disney connection.
Yes.
Do tell.
So my second job that I do on the side when I'm not with my kids at Perkins is I'm a Disney princess. I go to kids' parties and I'll read them a book, a Disney story, and I usually sing Disney songs with them.
Just out of curiosity, do you pick a prince? I mean, are you like a generic princess, or do you have like a character that you are portraying?
I do whatever they want me to do.
Okay, what's your favorite?
Belle.
Belle.
Ironically.
Okay. Yeah, well, okay, Beauty and the Beast. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
What is your most requested Disney?
Elsa, for sure.
Okay.
From Frozen.
Ed and I did this really cool story up at Primary Children's Hospital with the power of music, and they had this guitar up there from Taylor Swift, and so it kind of reminds me of what you just did there. And have you ever thought about going into music therapy?
It's funny you asked that, because I actually just submitted my application for tuition reimbursement through Perkins because I want to...
All right, there you go, virtual fist bump.
Yes, I am planning on going back to school for music therapy.
Good for you. Fantastic.
I had the opportunity to actually be an intern in music therapy at Perkins School for the Blind and got to see firsthand how it helps the kids. And I mean, I would be crying in class sometimes.
Yeah.
It was just... It's incredible, I think, what music does for anybody, but for these kinds of kids, it's everything. Somebody who might not be able to walk all of a sudden hears a song they like and they're dancing in their chairs, or the nonverbal ones are trying to sing, and it's just really inspiring. It's honestly helped me so much as a person to work there because, I think all of us naturally can get down in the dumps and just feel sad about certain things, but then I think about the things that they deal with on a daily basis, and they're making me laugh and, doing music and doing gym class, and it's like, I can do it too, I gotta do it.
The question I have for you, Elena Cruz, how do you want to leave your mark?
I would love to be a human bridge to help guide somebody to some type of understanding, whether it's a better understanding of themselves through things like music therapy, or just understanding on just different things in the world. I think because I'm biracial, I have a little bit of a different perspective where I can kind of easily see outside of myself and understand both sides to an argument. And I really try really hard to help people come to understanding in a loving way. I try my best to not get angry when people might say something hurtful. One of my favorite Spanish sayings is el que se enoja pierde, which means he who gets angry loses. And that's always really stuck with me. And so I think that when we approach ignorance with love and just a desire to educate, it's received so much better.
Well, Elena, thank you very much for bringing, all your heritage here to JESSOPS Journal and your musical
honor.
gifts. Life is never boring. Sometimes you have something I like to call the wonderful world of regret. If you've ever had a tattoo or permanent makeup that you've fallen out of love with, the folks at Tattoo Away have come up with a pretty cool system that literally removes the ink out of the skin. What makes you happy? For Gerold, a little dude with a big heart, music therapy makes all the difference.
We do the hokey pokey and the big all around.
Gerold had dilated cardiomyopathy, an enlarged heart that decreased the blood flow in his body. His mom, Amanda, explains.
It was irreversible. It was getting worse, so he ended up on what's called a Berlin heart. That's an external heart pumping his blood for him. He was on that for 7 months, which is the longest they've ever had somebody on it here at Primaries.
Gerold got a heart transplant at Primary Children's Hospital in March. He's still at the hospital recovering. I got to meet him at the music therapy room. I'm Doug. How you doing? So tell me about Gerold.
Music makes him happier probably than anything else. If there's a song playing, he is dancing. Even when he was like in the ICU, very sedated. Right after his transplant, we put the Trolls movie on, and there's one little clip that came on, and he's half asleep and he couldn't stop himself from like doing a little shimmy in his bed. Like if it's on, he is dancing and he is happy about it, yeah.
What is music therapy?
It's really rooted in addressing the needs of an individual through music. It's as simple as that. Anything from helping a kid in the hospital who's having trouble fall asleep, or it could be writing a song with a teenager to help them process a new diagnosis.
What gives you hope?
Being able to look at a really challenging situation and still be able to find hope and still be able to find beauty and still be able to create joy. I think those are the kind of things that we try to do here in a children's hospital. And it can be really challenging, but it can be really rewarding too. And I always say that it's an honor to get to work with these families, because it truly is. That's what it's all about.
I wash my hands, but I also wash my nose. Why? Because clear nasal spray washes away bacteria and helps me breathe better. So come on, join with me. Take a deep breath and relax. Thanks for watching this episode of Jessop's Journal. It's my honor to be able to provide powerful, positive, and inspirational stories every week right here on TV and at jessopsjournal.com. Everyone has a story. Stories have power. They help us understand each other. With another entry into Jessop's Journal, I'm Doug Jessop.